I'll start this off. So this is the We Like This podcast. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We're actually going to be talking to a famous director, Shaun Piccinino.
An actual director,
yeah. So,
sorry, say his name again. I stomped all over you.
Shaun Piccinino.
Yeah,
Okay? All right. Cool.
No.
Yeah, I did the hand thing and everything.
Giorno.
I think this is part of the accent, right? Like, it's not just
You
like
have
in your
to,
voice,
yeah.
it's in your hand as well.
Talk with your hands.
Yeah.
You talk with your hands.
So you two met each other while motorcycle riding, right? Because I don't really know much about you, Shaun. I wanted to go into this blind so I could kind of learn. So
Well, I got a bunch of questions here, but we met through this app. Well, actually, I sold a piece of my motorcycle, my old one, my Triumph T100 Bonneville 2014, to this dude and Derek's, and he's like, "Hey man," he doesn't talk like that at all, but I'm giving him a voice. He's like, "Hey man, I'm part of this riding group and stuff," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, what is it?" He told me about Tunnit, which is an app like Instagram but for motorcyclists. And then I think you, Shaun, set up this ride, and then I showed up to the ride, and the guy that I met didn't. Yes, I've been on two of them. Well, we got to talking on the first, once we had stopped, and I don't know what, we ate lunch, what the hell we did. And it was like us and 3 or 4 other guys, right?
Yeah.
And all we do, and then when I heard director, that's all we do is talk about movies. This last time, especially, dude, how bored were those poor guys?
No.
Must have talked about anamorphic lenses for an hour.
We did.
Not kidding you. And poor Shaun keeps leaning on one guy. So anyways, okay, what we're talking about is he's like, oh, they're glazed eyes. I felt bad for the guy. But
yeah.
anyways, that's how we met. And then I mentioned the podcast, and then like Shaun's like, hey, can I be on? I'm like, hell yeah, man, let's do it. So here we are.
Yeah. So like I said, this is a little bit different.
I listened to you guys' podcast too, and I thought it was really great. I listened to the episode about the vampire movie.
Let Me In.
Yeah. And I've seen both of those, so I was actually very fascinated to hear what you guys thought. I'm kind of on the fence. Like there were things I liked about both versions. So kind of like split down the middle. I thought there was some visual stuff in the first one that were really kind of unique, and I hadn't necessarily seen filmmakers approach it that way before, so I was very fascinated by it. But the newer one, or the American version, definitely had some flushed out some of the plot holes that the original. So anyways, I have listened to your podcast. So
cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. But you, speaking of movies, you're an actual director. So tell us a little bit about that. Like, what have you got? What's a part of your what's it called?
Well, my resume.
There we go. Portfolio.
I've been in this business now. It's got to either be approaching 20 years, or maybe I've passed that. I've stopped keeping track. But I've done everything from script writing to I've done acting. I've done stunts. I've been a stunt coordinator on big shows and movies, video games. I've worked on, oh my gosh, almost 40 games now to date, including the Call of Duty series. I've done motion capture. I've helped design action. I've also assistant directed on those. I've voiced characters before on those games and stuff. So I've kind of done a little bit of everything, but directing has always been one of my biggest passions. And I've been directing since I was, I think 16. I started doing local commercials in my hometown. Go pitch local businesses these harebrained ideas on how they could sell their products. And quite honestly, I don't know how or why they said yes. I think I did a Kung Fu Theater series of commercials for a paint store. No idea why I pitched them to do Kung Fu Theater.
But just paint like karate.
Well, you're leaving out the best part. Their name was Kick-Ass Paints. There you go.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It was like Ken's Paint Store or something like that. So it wasn't even like Kick-Ass Paint. But anyways, so I've always had that kind of passion. I learned to edit reel-to-reel tape at the local Fox affiliate in my hometown. That's where I kind of first cut my teeth in editing as well, because I've done a lot of that. I've been a visual effects supervisor. I've done visual effects on TV shows, editing. I've done like, I think 12 movies I've edited. And so anyways, I've kind of had my fingers in the pot in a lot of things. But writing, directing, acting when I get a chance, I don't really get to do it as much anymore because I'm so busy directing. But and stunt coordinating, I still do quite often. Like in between directing projects, I usually will get a phone call from somebody going, "Hey, do you want to help us stunt coordinate this next picture?" And that's a lot of fun for me. I love the stunt sides of things. I've studied martial arts most of my life. So I always kind of jump at the chance to get to do some of that. I think it's a blast. And I've got a lot of great friends in the stunt business. So I always love giving those guys and gals some work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned,
I have a couple projects out right now. Sorry, I got kind of sidetracked. I've got 2 movies out on Netflix currently. One is called Lady Driver, and the other is Roped. They're both family-friendly films. They're PG rated, Lady Driver is about this young 16-year-old girl kind of coming of age, kind of discovering herself and her past. She has her father. She never knew her father because he died the night she was born. So their kind of lives are always kind of pinned to that moment. And she goes to kind of learn about her father through her estranged uncle who was involved in the accident that killed her father. And so through this, she spends a summer with him. And through this, she learns that they both raced cars. They both were, on the track doing oval track racing. And she wants to learn how to race. And so that's kind of what the movie is about. And she does, and she becomes really good. So that's that one. I adore that movie. I had a blast making it. The star of it, Grace Van Dien, is actually the daughter of Casper Van Dien from Starship Troopers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Stuff.
Also in Roped. He's in both these, right?
Roped, yeah. I got him to do a cameo in this one to play her biological father in the movie, which I thought was kind of a fun little thing. But that's definitely a family, like I said, family movie. My daughters, I have 2 daughters, they love that movie. They've watched it, probably 20 times now. As kids like to do. But
Sean Patrick Flannery's in this also.
Yeah, Sean Patrick Flannery plays her uncle. We only had a few scenes with Sean and Casper together, but they were so fun together. I'm like, we got to do some cool kick-ass action flick with the 2 of them, because I think they would just have a total blast, like playing some assassins or something like that. I don't know. And then, Roped is more of a romance, but again, it's still family-friendly, PG. It's kind of I've heard some people reviewing it saying it's like Footloose mixed with the Western or something. It's deals with the rodeo coming to town, and the young woman, she falls in love with one of the young rodeo guys, and of course the dad forbids the relationship type of thing. It's a little bit of Romeo and Juliet type of vibes, but a wonderful cast in that as well. As we mentioned, Casper Van Dien, and the 2 leads of that film, Lauren, she was Lauren York at the time. She's now Lauren Swickard, and Josh Swickard. They, when we did in the casting process, we did a chemistry test with the 2 of them, and we just went, wow, they have amazing chemistry. Yeah. Well, turns out it was real, because they did fall in love while making the movie, and they're married now. So,
dude, you're a matchmaker.
Yeah, you can add that to your list of accolades.
Totally funny that it worked out with it. But the movie I just directed. So I just directed a movie during this whole COVID thing. It was very interesting.
What was that like, directing a movie during COVID?
Mm-hmm.
It was very interesting, very different. And I think certainly a lot more challenging in a lot of ways. Making a movie, people I don't think understand, at least from my experience, it's incredibly hard to make a movie. There's just so many challenges that go into it. And if you don't have everybody firing on all cylinders, all the ducks in a row, all the T's and I's crossed and dotted, the movie can fail really fast. And then when you add in this current environment, I think it adds a whole nother level. And we were tested every couple days. We did the nose swabs all the way up. Not to the brain every time, but they weren't super comfortable. In the beginning, we had blood tests done, and then we did the nose swabs from there on out.
How big was the crew?
The crew, I think, was around 30 all in, which is smaller than our normal. It's about half the size of our normal crew. Yeah. And we had COVID officers on set who would make sure you were social distancing, make sure your mask was up, that you didn't crowd, and those kinds of things. We had extra medics. I can't remember exactly how many, but there was more medics. We got temperature checked as we arrived on set. You got temperature checked as you left set. And there was also zones. So basically, I think we had A, B, and C zones of the shooting area, which, A is the set, B would be like the holding area, and C was like base camp. And you couldn't, at any one time, not everybody could be in one zone. So you kind of had to be spread out in these zones, which again, the officers, the COVID officers were in charge of all of that and making sure we weren't, congregating too much. And everybody was real respectful, and everybody, we slip up every once in a while, like me and the first AD are talking too close, and the COVID officer would just be like, "Hey guys," and we knew immediately, "Oh, sorry," scoot over. So it was very interesting in that respect, and also actors and crew, other than like the DP and myself, which I was wearing a mask and a shield and stuff like that, I could approach the actors and have discussions with them. But when like crew needed to come in and adjust a light, the cast would actually have to leave first. So if you can imagine that, every time you make a tweak, cast has to leave first. Once they're clear, then our crew can come in, adjust a light. Then the crew has to leave. Then the cast can come back in. And as you can imagine, that slows down your production.
And that's already a long enough process as it is. So adding that extra step is just like...
Adding those extra steps it can mean all the difference. And we were already on even for myself, I tend to work very quickly. And a lot of the crew that I work with, we move very fast, and we're pretty darn efficient. We still have fun, but we're very efficient. And this was pushing that envelope to the next level. I mean, there are instances where people work even faster than what we do. Lifetime, a lot of Lifetime movies, they have even shorter schedules than what we do. But I think for my style of shooting, I try and do stuff very cinematically. I know that's a weird word to use, but that's, for example, you wanting to use the anamorphic lenses and take some of that time to set certain shots up. I like a lot of movement in my shots. So one of my go-to tools is it's called a Dana dolly. And it's basically a couple of like rails that you have this your plate with like kind of essentially skateboard wheels on it. Yeah. And you can mount the camera to that. But the beauty of it is you can set it up very quickly, move it around very quickly, versus like a big dolly and setting up big dolly tracks. That's a whole another ball game. And there are advantages to those over the Dana dolly. But I kind of do a lot of tricks and different things to make this give me that same motion and same feeling of, setting up the big dollies and stuff like that. So anyways, this was a very, very tight schedule as it was. And then adding in those extra things made it very, very challenging. But luckily had a great team around us and amazing cast that was just willing to roll with the punches at every turn and make adjustments. And hey, guess what? That whole part of that scene that you just had memorized, forget it. We're going to now move over here and we're going to do this. And they were just awesome. They were just, all of them were along for the ride. And again, we had Josh and Lauren Swickard who starred in that. That's part of the reason, the same stars from Roped, is part of the reason why we were able to get, I think, the film approved through SAG and all of that, because they were the love interests. They were the only ones who had like kissing scenes, as you can imagine with COVID, around trying to have two strangers do kissing scenes.
You're probably one of the few directors working right now.
It's very, very limited. There are commercial like commercial shoots, music video, like smaller stuff is going, and some TV like docu-series stuff I know is going.
Yeah.
But as far as features, it's pretty few and far between right now. But we were able to do it, and we pulled it off, and nobody got COVID, and none of the cast and crew got COVID. So that was, we were very happy about that. And
so it can be done.
Yeah, and I think we made a really cool movie.
This is the one you shot with the anamorphics.
Yes, we shot with these vintage Kawa anamorphics, which I've shot with, I think, Lomos. I've shot with Hawks, and I think I shot with a different set of Kawas before. These Kawas blew me away. They were so small. Like normally anamorphics are just giant. I shot with these Hawk anamorphics on this TV show, science fiction TV show, because I love the lens flares that anamorphics create. And the 40 millimeter on this Hawk, I have a picture of it on social media, but I'm not kidding you. The front element's like this big. It's bigger than my head. It's so ginormous. And then when you put that on the camera, it's not super long lens, but just that front glass is so big that you're like, you have to like fight it just on your shoulder because it's so heavy. But these were lightweight, compact, kind of blew me away. Especially a lens from late 60s, early 70s was like the technology was that good to be able to do that. And these lenses just looked beautiful.
They're 2X?
Yeah, they're 2X. We were up in Petaluma, California, which is above San Francisco. It's close to Napa and Sonoma. So where we were filming on these, we were filming on a beautiful ranch out there. It's actually a dairy farm. And then we shot on this other ranch. But there's vineyards everywhere in the distances, the rolling hills with the vineyards. So we just have these beautiful shots of the landscapes there and the different animals and all that stuff. So and we tried to shoot a lot of stuff at that, the magic and then the golden hours and, get that backlight that's making the hair glow. You know what I mean? So we're trying a lot of that stuff. Brad Rushing, who is the DP on this, we've done several projects together, and him and I discussed early on, like trying to emulate Robert Redford's films, like Horse Whisperer, A River Runs Through It. That was kind of our lofty goal, was to try and emulate some of the imagery that he was able to capture in those films. That was the goal. That was the goalpost we were shooting for. So
what's this most recent movie? What's the story behind it?
So the most recent movie is called A California Christmas. There you go. It's a Christmas movie. I wouldn't say it's like a full-blown Christmas movie, but it's definitely would be a good holiday movie. And it's about saving this farm. So you've got this family who it's been in their family for generations, but they're really struggling. The matriarch of the family, she's got pretty advanced level of cancer, and her mid-20s daughter, beautiful daughter, is the one trying to hold up the ranch. And of course, there's the threats of foreclosure and all that stuff's coming down to them. Now, there's a big company that wants to buy the ranch because they want the land. They're going to turn it into a shipping facility for their big conglomerate, and they can't get her to sell. So who do they send? The son of the mother who owns the company. She sends her son to try and use his charisma and good looks to get this young woman to sell the ranch. Mm-hmm. And of course, that doesn't go to plan. All sorts of things happen, and obviously I won't spoil it too much, but he ends up working on the ranch and kind of seeing what it's all about, and falling in love with the young woman who owns and runs the ranch. So it's not like it's a big mystery what's going to happen in the end, but I'll leave it there. So it's one of these very romantic holiday type movies, and but again, the cast is really great. We've got some good little twists in there that hopefully make it stand apart a little bit from other romantic movies in that same genre. And we have some great supporting cast. David Del Rio from Baker and the Beauty. He's in it, and he's absolutely hilarious, alongside Ali Afshar, who is also one of the supporting characters. And the two of them together is absolutely hilarious, because Ali's character is this very kind of uptight, three-piece business suit wearing guy, and David Del Rio plays this ranch hand who loves video games, and they find a common bond through their love of wine. And it's pretty hilarious, the antics that they go through. So we have some great comic relief in this. Even our leads, there's some great comedic moments with them as well. We have Amanda Detmer in there as well from she just had a recent turn on that show Empire.
Oh wow, okay.
But she's actually from my hometown. She was in like the Final Destination movies and all that stuff in the 90s, and but she's actually from my hometown, and I got her in Lady Driver. I was able to bring her on that in just a small role, but I was always like, man, we're both from the same hometown, which is Chico, California, and we kind of share those roots. And for me, when I was still there, I was doing these little commercials and stuff in town. I saw her making it. She was in Hollywood. Final Destination came out, and that was a big movie. And then she did a bunch after that were hits. She was on a couple TV shows. I think she was in, I'm trying to remember. She was in a movie with Jack Black that was big as well. And I was just watching her in amazement. Like, here's this gal from my hometown. She's just a couple years older than I am, and she's pursued this dream, and she's making it, and she's doing it. And so she was actually served a big inspiration for me. Yeah. And so then all these years later, I was like, oh man, I so would love to work with her in something. And as fate would have it, I was able to get her in the door on Lady Driver, and we had such a blast that it's the same producers of this movie. And so I pitched her again to play the mother, the lead's mother, who's dying of cancer. It's a very heavy role, and they all loved her for it, and she did such a phenomenal job. I mean, really, this movie, hopefully you'll get some good chuckles and the romance of it all, but also I think it's a tearjerker. I think it's going to get some people to shed some tears for sure.
What's it going to be released on?
Not sure yet. Don't know that, but we are trying to get it out for this Christmas. So we're cranking. I'm currently in post on it. We're working on the cut right now. But that's the goal for us, is to try and get it out by this Christmas. And of course, we're shopping it with Netflix and all of that fun stuff. Yeah. And Netflix did release the same the previous one, Roped, which it did really well. So Roped and Lady Driver were both in the top 100 on Netflix for several months. Roped ended up doing really, really well. It was the 22nd most watched film on Netflix in I think May, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. Yeah. So it did really, they really did really good for us, and we couldn't be prouder of these films. And so this one, obviously, we'd love it to end up on a Netflix as well. So yeah, that's kind of the pitch.
Netflix and Amazon are in many ways, yeah, games in town. Mm-hmm. Disney's only putting their own stuff on. So
but, I don't know about the throughput deals with them, but we work a lot with Warner Brothers as well. So our deals through Netflix are actually channeled through Warner Brothers. Oh, okay. So again, I'm kind of on the creative side, so a lot of that stuff I don't necessarily know all the details of them, but I know that we've got a great relationship with Warner Brothers. So I'm sure the hope is that they would take this one on as well, and probably have it land on Netflix would be, I'm sure the plan. But again, that's kind of above my pay grade.
Probably bets you don't know anyways. It's gotta be so awesome, dude, seeing two of your movies on Netflix. I mean, what's that like?
I did a little happy TikTok dance for it when it happened.
I was gonna say.
I did a whole TikTok video. I wasn't even on TikTok, but I'm like, I'm going to be on TikTok dance because I was so happy about having them on there. Yeah, it's a total dream come true, and like I said, I've been working in this business a long time, and a lot of people, will look to me and go, well, how did you do this? Or how did you gain this level of success, if you want to call it that? I tell them a lot of times my response is, it's the same response, is perseverance. There's so many talented people out there. There's too many talented people. There's more talent than there is platforms to play all the talent. So the people that I have seen make it, and accounting for my own level of success, whatever it is just literally perseverance. I think you have to have talent. Certainly there's sometimes people that don't have talent and still kind of make it, but I think you have to have talent, but it's also perseverance. It's the people that stick it out. A lot of people come to this business and they give it a couple of years and then they call it quits, because it is a brutal business. It's really hard. You have to have kind of an undying drive. That never give up, never surrender is my mantra. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Galaxy Quest.
I love that movie. I just watched it recently.
That is literally a daily mantra for me. Right. It's so fun. Like, my philosophies in life are literally based on movie aliens, I guess. Yoda, do or do not, there is no try. That was such a big influence on me as a kid, as you can obviously see with my horse hat here. And then Galaxy Quest.
Mine's by Grabthar's hammer. That's what I use all the time. It doesn't get me anywhere, though.
Not really. I don't think you're ever going to get quoted on that one.
It inspired nobody. It's greatness. But keep using it.
Well, you raise a good point there. I think a lot of people, you're watching the behind the scenes of a movie or something like that. It seems like this, and it really is. Like, when you're looking at the scope of the thing, like it's an amazing, fantastic process making a movie. But I don't think a lot of people realize how grueling it can be, how stressful it can be. And then on the flip side of it, how boring it can be waiting around for clearance for something, or just something to happen for the lighting guys to finish because you got ushered out because you social distancing. But like, there's a lot of waiting around. And then there's also a lot of just like constant go for 10 to 16 hours. It's not easy. It's not easy.
It's really hard to explain until people really, if they get involved and do it, they find out really quick how much work everybody's putting in.
Yeah.
It is, and especially from a creative side, like the creative management side of it, with the directors and producers and like lead cast, there's a tremendous amount of stress, and that stress makes that like exponentially tougher. A lot of people go, these big starlets, stars and starlets, they have it so easy. Mm-hmm. It's really, they do in a lot of ways. Yes, 100%. They are very privileged. They are very lucky to be in the position that they are in. They also lose their privacy completely, which people, I don't think, truly understand what that burden is, but it is a massive burden. It sounds fun, but it really truly is
first.
not.
I think it was fun the first 18 minutes.
Yeah. And
then it gets old.
Then there's the pressure. A lot of these movies, like I see movies. I'm a big champion of movies in all shapes and forms, and I get really frustrated when I see a movie failing, and I see either critics or, of course, online trolls or people jumping on that bandwagon to beat a film down. And in very rare cases, is it something that, maybe truly is just a horrible movie. But most cases, it's like, okay, maybe that movie's not the best, but it definitely was not as horrible as people are trying to make it out to be. And there was like 1,000 people that worked their ass off to make this project. They in no way, shape, or form tried to make it a bad project. They were all trying to do something creative and something that will entertain people and something that will bring a smile to somebody's face. So when people jump on it and they start trashing it, and it makes me sad, because I know how hard it was to make John Carter. Like that movie, it's a colossal in the box office, and the critics just trashed it and all this. I'm like, man, I know so many people that worked on that. And then you look at the pressure, like, that was a big vehicle launch for Taylor Kitsch to go into films. Mm-hmm. And then everybody was saying, he's not a leading man. He can't do it because that movie failed. You're just like, what? Are you
Wasn't that bad of a movie?
but that happens, and then he had another movie that wasn't a big success, and then all of a sudden, nope, he's no longer leading man material or whatever. And it's kind of like, I wonder how that affected him. I hope he's been able to, keep a good attitude and all that. But
I think it depends on what level, really, right? Because it seems like with filmmaking, it's like credit. It's better to have bad credit than no credit. You know what I mean? And it's better to have a lot of maybe mediocre product than nothing, or one good one, because then they're like, well, now what do you got, kid? And you have nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that can kill you too. So, but and I know what you're saying, but you have to, like me, I know when I'm watching a film, I'm like, and you just watch, I'm a credit watcher, like one of those weirdos, right? And I'm looking at the hundreds of names going, man, this sucks that this movie sucked. Because so many people gave blood for this thing.
They do.
Nowhere near your level, obviously, but I my first short film that I shot 10 years ago in the garage with Dana was in it. 6 solid months of my life. Solid months of my life. And 3 minutes and 46 seconds. And anyone watching it doesn't know or care, and I don't expect them to know that it took 6 months of my life.
But not even the 6 months. Like how long was I out in the garage doing lighting tests for you? And it's like, it's just like this, it's, I was the stand-in for myself.
I was teaching myself filmmaking. I never shot a film before. So I was teaching myself filmmaking and shooting a movie. I watched it again the other day. The sound design is absolute shit, but
but it is a finished product. That's the most important thing. Is like you have a finished product.
That's what I was going to say about you. That's where I was kind of getting to. Is that you're a finisher, dude, and that's huge, right? Just being able to finish a project, this, like I said, with this much stress, this much work, and actually finish it is a huge accomplishment.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's also goes to that perseverance thing, right? So I think I can attribute it to a lot of things. Obviously, my family, my mom was, she's always instilled those kinds of things, like you're not a quitter, but one of those things, if you start something, you're going to finish it. So I think the lessons with her definitely was that. My father as well, he was a drama professor, directed 2 plays a year. So I watched him obviously do these things from scratch all the way to finish. I think also martial arts come into play to help me with that balance and become a problem solver, and also strengthening that never give up kind of attitude. But yeah, even my first film that we made it on, credit cards in our back alley. And that took a solid year of my life to get that thing done. And I did a movie, you guys can actually check it out. Since you've done this yourselves. We did a movie, it's on Amazon Prime right now. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can go check it out. It's called The Lackey. And that was just a little passion project. We made it on $7,500. And that was a number that was inspired by Robert Rodriguez.
I know that number.
Of course, he did it like 20 years before us.
And
so
on
that
film.
100 went a lot, didn't go as far. It was just a lot of people volunteering the time. There's these great guys, Ricky Bird, and he's got a company called Hectic Films, and Jason Sanders. They brought the gear. I basically said, hey, I've got this project. And they're like, well, we have the gear. And I go, okay, well, I'm going to show up at your house and we're going to make this thing.
Where did you shoot it on?
We shot it on the red one. It was the first. They had like number 47 of the first one that came out, or something like that. Maybe it was 87. I don't know, something. It was in the first 100, I think. And it overheated all the time. We'd like put like those gel ice packs on it. We'd like band those onto the red one, and so it would not overheat. And then but a great group of guys there that were just down to try and make this thing, and we weekend warriored it. This was before there was any Kickstarters or Indiegogos. Those didn't exist. And but we kind of went online, and I built like a website, and I think I Facebooked it like, hey, anybody can be a producer. If you give $20, your name will go in the credits or whatever. And so we would get $500-600, and I would schedule another day or two, and that's how we rolled. It was Del Taco was our crafty, and but it's an action film. It's a martial arts action film. It's definitely far from perfect. It has got tons of problems and issues with it, but it was a labor of love, and I think we have a couple decent little action pieces in there. And again, we made it for $7,500, and we finished it, and we got released.
Yeah, wow.
Which, that was a feat in of itself. It was actually really difficult to get that one any kind of distribution because we had no names in it.
Yeah.
We were able to get Vernon Wells from Mad Max and Commando and Weird
Science. I just watched Commando the other day.
Yeah, well, he's
I can't remember his name. Bennett, that's right. I love the fight at the end. You're like, that guy with the mesh jacket is fighting Schwarzenegger and winning at one point. Oh, come on. I love Vernon Wells, but I met him at a Mad Max art show, actually.
Oh, yeah.
It's really cool. It was after the fourth movie came out. The reboot that they did.
Yeah.
He was a really nice guy.
Yeah, he went out when that movie was coming out. He went and was part of that. It's kind of like the Burning Man, but it's out here, Wastelands.
I've been to Wasteland.
Yeah, so he went out and did a whole thing there when that movie was ramping up to come out. And I so wanted to go for that, but I
went that year of Wasteland, and everybody was a war boy. It was crazy. Wasteland is cool for about 4 hours.
You didn't fight in the Thunderdome?
I went to the Thunderdome. Wasteland is cool for about 4 hours. Because here's the thing.
In the Thunderdome, I'm just saying.
I wanted to, but dudes were getting their asses kicked, dude. Like, for real.
Oh, yeah.
It was hardcore.
Yeah.
Because you're in the middle of the desert and there's no nothing.
Yeah.
But it's mainly just I don't want to shit on it too hard, but it's just an excuse to do drugs and dress up like Mad Max.
I don't mess with that stuff, but I would definitely Max.
I went with my brother, and it was cool for about 4 hours. We got drunk, and then I'm like, now what do we do? Because everyone was so off their gourds. It's like Burning Man. It's the same thing. You go out to the middle of...
I would go to Burning Man to document it.
Yeah.
I would 100% go there just to document the art and all the wild stuff, you know? I don't know if I'd want to camp out there the whole time. I don't know if I'd have.
Yeah, we tried. We didn't make it. It's cool because a lot of vehicles. There's a lot of vehicles.
Stuff I love.
Stuff like that. Yeah, but there's unique humans that are doing it.
Yeah.
So, and they maybe we came in too hard too, because I was like, yes, man, because I love Mad Max.
Yeah.
I mean, we were like, these guys are too much too soon. And that was probably part of our fault. We came in guns fully loaded, man.
Well, do you want to tell that story? They created characters to go to this thing.
What's that?
That was when you created characters to go to this thing, right?
Oh yeah, we created characters, everything's costumes, the whole thing. You can't just go. It's not like you have to go dressed up, or they won't let you in, quote unquote.
They shot a film that they showed at a tent or something, right?
We were in the film festival.
That's it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we shot a short film for it. We were in the film festival. That was Saturday night. We left at 2 a.m. on Friday night. We couldn't do it anymore.
You didn't even stay for the festival?
No, I can't explain why. I don't get too far into my bullshit story, but I can't explain why it wasn't fun exactly, because god damn, it should have been so much fun.
Yeah.
It just wasn't fun. Dude, we climbed up on the Thunderdome. The Toxic Cafe is right there. I'm like, this is amazing. Why does this suck so much? It was weird. You know what? Because no one's putting on a show per se. Like, we were walking around in character the whole time, talking like this,
Yeah.
No one's in character. No one.
Oh, really?
The guy running the Thunderdome was like, okay, we're going to have these two guys fight. I'm like, dude, the man with no name. Where's that guy? And that's what's wrong with it.
Down?
Yes. No one's doing. You love him. None of this stuff. Blaster. None of that was going on. Everyone's just half-assing it. And I'm like, well, this is no fun.
Maybe it was an off year or something.
We went 3 years. But anyways, I kept like, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. Remember the Renaissance Fair?
Oh,
when I was a kid, we used to go and everyone was in character and huzzah and all this shit. I want it to be like that, and it's not like that. So it's just, and I don't do drugs, so it's not that fun.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Even as
I actually do. So I actually camp out medieval once a year. It didn't happen this year. Not with the Renaissance Fair, but it's similar to that. It's the SCA. I go and I fight in a 500-person full contact, full armor battle. Cool. So there's 250 people aside, and we charge at each other full force, and it is wild.
That's insane.
It's insane, but you actually have to train. You have to be certified. Number one, that you're not going to try and like break people's kneecaps, but two, that you can show you can properly armor yourself.
Yeah.
Because you have to be properly armored, or else you will really get hurt. But surprisingly, twisted ankles and stuff like that happen. But you'd be surprised it's not as many injuries as you'd think. You're basically, they're not all metal weapons, but you're essentially swinging baseball bats at each other.
Even still.
And it's gnarly. Oh no, you get your bell rung, but you also have to have the proper helmets. I mean, they are 14 gauge minimum steel helmets with the only thing that is not historically accurate in there is they require closed cell foam. So you have to have that like 3/4 inch closed cell foam inside your helmet. Yeah. Then you can have the cotton batting, lining it outside of that, so it still looks and feels real, which is what I did. I built most of my own armor for that, but. So I get into this stuff. I fully do it. I go and find that once a year. I try and do some of the other events when I can, but I'm just so busy I don't get to do it. But that one, it's called the Great Western War, and there's about 4,000 people that all go camp out. And it's just the experience of being around the people is fun because we cook, we play music. People got their guitars and lutes and all sorts of, and we just hang out. We camp in. It's almost like glamping because our tents are like 16-foot ceiling, 20 foot by 15 foot. You could fit a 4-poster bed in these tents. But I go there, I help set up, I help build the roads for the whole thing, and then help set up our camp, which we have probably 20 families that camp in our little section. Yeah. And putting up those tents and tearing them down is a big job. Yeah. So we everybody comes together and we build them. And
I think I got a good analogy really quick for that. It's like when you go on a ride with Harley guys, or you go on the gentleman's ride. It's two totally different rides, and that's what I think it is. The gentleman ride is what you're talking about, right? And the Mad Max in the desert is like going on a Harley ride. The Harley rides are never fun. I don't go on them. Because you have to be 100% attitude all the time and all this stuff. Right. With the gentleman, I remember I was on the gentleman ride one time, and this guy's like, "This is the coolest ride I've ever been on. Everyone's so nice."
Yeah, yeah.
He was a Harley guy.
Well, you saw I have the gentleman's ride sticker on my bike. Did you notice that?
Sorry? Yes, I did.
Yeah. I love that.
Unfortunately, they're not doing this year.
I know, and I don't have a tweed suit yet. I need to get a tweed suit. I want to go full in.
Oh, dude, I'll send you some pictures. My jackets were loud. Suit? No, not a tweed suit, but I always had a loud jacket every year. So my last one was like this red, flashy kind of paisley thing or something.
I've got some jackets. I'm sure I could dig something out for that.
They were basically, all my jackets were, look at me, kind of.
Let's have a competition next time they have it, hopefully next year. Let's you and I battle it out for the loudest jacket. I'm in.
Oh, absolutely. Let's do it. And it'll be like 9 other guys battling with us too. Some guy it was like a Santa Claus suit. Not like a Santa Claus suit, but a suit with Santa Claus on it. A fully red suit.
Oh, that's amazing.
There's a guy with a full plaid suit on, the loudest plaid suit I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, damn, I was going to wear that.
Yeah.
Thank God I didn't. We would have been dressed the same. But
I love it. I love that stuff.
So new movies. Oh, yeah. American Fighter.
So, right? That just came out in the UK. It's not here in the US yet. I wish it was. I wish I also had an answer on when it's going to release. I don't have that yet, unfortunately. But it just opened up in the UK. So it's like iTunes, Amazon, all that stuff over in the UK. It's on other sites too, other streaming sites over there that I don't even know what they are. But it's out there right now. It's doing really good. It cracked the top 1,000 on IMDb. So clearly people are watching it and looking it up. I think it's kind of tough to get numbers from over there, but I'm hoping people are digging it. It's also a movie I'm very proud of. And George Costuros is the lead in that, and also Brian Craig. They were just so awesome to work with, and we had Tommy Flanagan playing basically the villain, and Sean Patrick Flannery again. As you can see, I like working with the same people. I always, when I work with good people, I try and bring them back and work with them again, because I feel like building that bond and relationship, you guys, the creative energy that you start building upon those relationships just can become really amazing.
A lot of trust involved too, under that kind of pressure, that kind of money, and all kind of. There's a lot of trust involved, and so you want to be able to depend on. And when you work with people, hey, this worked out really well with these guys. The same thing in construction or where I work, and we all got to work with the same people for the same exact reasons.
Same thing,
Shit ton of money. You got to be able to trust people and know they're going to do what they say when they say it, and shit like that. So I totally get it.
Yeah, and that's with those people. I love to work with Tommy Flanagan again. I've got a couple projects that I have pitched, and with him in mind. He's fantastic, fantastic actor. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves for his acting chops. That guy can deliver some seriously great stuff. And of course, Sean Patrick. He's also another one of those guys that I think people don't realize how good of an actor he really is. I mean, you can think back to like Powder. Incredible performance in that movie.
Powder. I didn't even know that was him.
I know most people don't know that
was him. Yeah.
He really does. There's some great subtle moments in American Fighter. First of all, he's in Lady Driver, and I think that's a great performance. I think people should watch that, and they're really going to see the nuances of that performance. But he did some stuff in Fighter that I just thought were phenomenal, where I was even taken aback a little bit. With the way that he delivered on some of the emotional scenes. I was like, gosh, it's so powerful. It's like almost, it's almost it's just on a different level than I was even expecting for that character. That's always such a great thing when you get surprised by stuff like that. I think, sorry, I got my dogs in here. I love getting surprised by people kind of bringing life to these characters, because it's very different. Like that one I co-wrote, and it's always interesting to see your own words, go to the screen. But I'm definitely one of those directors who, I think because I've acted and I grew up in the theater and on stage, I think I understand I think I have a unique perspective on that, at least, or I have an understanding of the everybody's kind of got a different process, but I think I have a healthy respect for the process. I think that's the better way to say it. And so I'm one of those directors who doesn't make you stick to the dialogue, even if I wrote it. I'm like, no, listen, I want you to believe in what you're saying. Yeah. And if you need to tweak it to make it believable for you, then I'm fine with that, because if you don't believe it, the audience definitely doesn't believe it,
It's sometimes you get your best stuff that way. But it's we were talking about today. Some actors, the script is their warm blanket and they can't deviate. And I'm like, but I need you to deviate so you can get the performance. Make it your own. So some can't do it. Some just can't do it. So.
And then some people are really great at making those exact words feel completely natural. It's so interesting. Everybody has, like I said, a different process, but 9 times out of 10, they want to tweak it a little bit, and I'm totally cool with it. I'm like, yes, please, because I feel like my job is to get them to literally tell the truth, and their job is to tell the truth. My job is to help them tell the truth, and so however we can accomplish that together, whatever that process is, I want to be supportive that way, because you don't want those wooden performances. Famously, you've got even the Star Wars, like George Lucas wanting people to say these kind of very wooden, very technical lines. You know what I mean? And the actors are like, that just sounds so weird. I don't know how to, I think the difference in the beginning was you got Harrison Ford, very strong personality, and Carrie Fisher, very strong. They basically told George to go screw himself. And there's some famous footage of Harrison telling George, I'm not saying that. And Carrie Fisher is kind of backing Harrison Ford up. It's on A New Hope. Just at the time, it was just the Star Wars, right?
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying
that. Now known as A New Hope.
Yeah, whatever on that.
They didn't call it episode 4?
Oh, how dare you! It's funny because, like, if you watch those readings that the sides they're reading, and Harrison Ford was brought in to just read the sides with some of the actors.
Right.
And it's funny when you see the different people, different actors going out for the Luke Skywalker part, and then when Mark Hamill comes in and reads this ridiculous dialogue and nails it, and you're like, this actually sounds right the way he's saying it. Like I see when you see him read those sides, it makes sense that he got the part, because again the way he read it so earnestly and meant it, and you're like, oh my God, no wonder they handed it to him. He's the perfect Luke Skywalker. You know, he always has been. That's why I'm so mad what they did to my boy. And
we could go down the Last Jedi rabbit hole, huh?
Oh, that's a whole other podcast.
Well, I know we can't do it on this one, but we have our last podcast we were doing anything but Star Wars. We'd see how long we can go without talking about Star Wars. We usually made.
How long did you go?
But I don't know, dude.
Never.
Not long. Whenever it's me and my son and the certain friends, but especially this friend of mine, Perry, huge Star Wars nerds. I mean, Perry's Star Wars collection of trinkets and stuff is impressive.
Insane.
He's like a museum. The 2% that you see, you're like, oh my God. And you're like, yeah, you should see the other 98% that he's got hidden away. You know what I mean? But anyways, we can't talk anything about without eventually talking about Star Wars. So that's why we turned podcast. But we have it was probably one of our longest and most watched podcasts. And it was about The Last Jedi.
It was an hour and 45 minutes.
Friends who's normally on, liked the film. And I was like, this is great. But I also preface the whole podcast saying, I don't want anyone to attack anyone saying, oh, you're young, so you don't know Star Wars. Or you're old, so you don't know what Star Wars, and you don't understand Star Wars is now. That's not an excuse for anyone, and that's not an argument. We're all Star Wars fans, okay?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how we came to it. We're all fans. Doesn't matter what you saw first. Because there's prequel kids, right? There's kids that love the prequel, and they're stinking loads of shit. But people love them, so good for them. You know?
Yeah, it's their Star Wars. You know what I mean? It's that generation Star Wars. Exactly. I mean, and it means different things to different people. I agree with you. I am not a fan when everybody gets really bent out of shape, and it's my way is the only correct way to do it or whatever. I have my own opinions, and I kind of like fluctuated on The Last Jedi. Like when I first saw it, I thought there was a lot of great stuff in it, and I still, when I rewatched it before this last one, I really liked the Kylo Rey dynamic. I thought there was some really interesting stuff there.
It was good. That was one of the few things that was good about that film.
I didn't love the way Luke was handled and the way he was written, and just didn't feel sincere to the universe that they had all built. Now he did fight and struggle, and being a Star Wars fan for so long and reading a bunch of the expanded universe stuff, which is now Legends or something. Yeah. He was a pretty dark Jedi. I mean, he really skirted that line with the light and dark. So I thought you could have explored a lot of that, just maybe not in such. It just felt almost like kind of I don't know, say petty, but it could have just been not enough time to really explain what he was going through. But yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that part of it. I will say that the last movie, I know everybody says, oh, it's just trying to fix everything that it undid, but I actually watched it and then rewatched The Last Jedi, and it actually made me like The Last Jedi more than I did if the end goal was to be what it was, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? But anyways.
I hate The Last Jedi less now. If that makes sense.
That's kind of what I'm saying.
Well, it's funny because I watched this YouTube video, and it was this kid explaining why, in his mind, The Last Jedi worked. And at this point, I don't remember why, but it made me hate it less. I need to find the video again and rewatch it. But I was like, yeah, this kid's got some good points, is what it was.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it had been some time, because when we saw it in the theater, the end came up, and Danon's like out of his chair, and he's like, let's get the fuck out of here. Like, we were both so pissed.
I was gonna be late for work, and I was planning on it because I was gonna go watch this movie instead, but I was just like, am I really missing work for this? And I don't want to go to work.
Yeah, it's the most controversial of all the films, no doubt. I mean, it really.
I like the idea of now. I like the idea of a potentially old Luke that's all grumpy and stuff, but I just don't think they did it right. Luke would never. We're going to talk about going on rabbit holes. Luke would never try to kill his own nephew because he had a bad dream. No, never.
That's what I mean.
Burnout Luke would not kill his nephew because of a bad dream.
Yeah, the pettiness of it just felt like, I mean, there is the moment where he almost kills his father, but of course that's in the heat of battle. That's not just having a bad dream. You know what I mean? Like, he is dark in a lot of ways, and he has that struggle with the dark side. But I think he just felt easily manipulated, if that makes sense. Like, and I think it's I don't know. I really do think that there. Also, I even thought there could have been more redemption for him within that. Like the whole thing projecting himself, it's a cool concept.
Yeah.
And there's things I really do like about it. But man, tell me right now if that movie wouldn't have gotten you way more pumped up if he actually showed up and he wrecked all those walkers.
Yes.
Like sliced the legs out from underneath those walkers, just trashed everybody. Yeah. And then he faces Kylo.
It would have been awesome.
And maybe he Obi-Wan's himself at the end of that, fine, whatever. He sacrificed himself and everybody escapes. It also wasn't super clear that what he was doing was giving them enough time to escape. Like, that was another thing that I was really like, and he fights the guy for 10 seconds and that somehow allowed them to escape. Like, it should have been, but anyways, if he had showed up and wrecked those things and everybody got to see Luke that they've wanted to see forever, like the Luke, the fully powerful, Luke, that would have been, I think all the other failings of the movie would have been eradicated, and it would have been one of the most badass Star Wars moments of all time.
They would have fixed a lot of things that were broken about that film.
Because that would have,
if they given us our moments. Yeah, there you go. Maybe not fix them, but it would have fixed them for me, right? But it would have been easier to overlook them for sure.
Yeah.
I talk about this all the time. It's like when a movie, when a movie's good, when you overlook its obvious failings.
Yeah.
And I always use Jaws as a prime example. I love Jaws. Fabulous film. Shit shark. And one guy's like, no, the shark has always been shit, dude. The movie's always been shit. The movie's always been good.
Yeah.
And that's why the shark is good.
Yeah.
Because when he jumps out of the boat at the end and falls out, it looks like dog shit. There's no getting around it. But by then you were in, man.
You're in.
That shark could have had wings and you would have bought it.
There's such amazing things with like the score and the timing of the editing and the cuts, like that really just make you buy in. The first Rocky is a movie that inspired me to get into filmmaking as well. Yeah. And it's actually a beautiful movie, and there's such beautiful acting and moments in it. But when it comes to the fighting, if you hit mute, they're missing each other by a mile.
Yeah, it always drove him crazy.
Just drove Stallone crazy. Yeah. But I mean, they're missing by a mile. But when the sound is going and you're so invested in the movie, I never saw those misses until I accidentally muted it, and I went, "Wait a minute, did he just?" And I rewound it. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" And
missed it by a mile.
When I studied film and started studying film and understanding it, it's amazing how certain things can make the brain make those connections. It will close those gaps. Sound is a huge proponent of that. It can literally fix misses in your head. Your brain will see a connection where it's not there.
Oh, absolutely,
just through sound design, which is amazing.
And shitty audio can make a beautiful visual look like dog shit.
It'll break a film. You cannot have bad audio. That is, I mean, score and sound design are so integral to a high quality film, and you'll see in a lot of lower budget. That's where stuff usually tends to, show its ugly face the most. Is in the sound and the editing of the sound and all of that. You'll pick those things up. Like, a lot of people don't understand that a lot of times you don't even see the edit. Like, your brain doesn't necessarily register where the shots are cutting from one close up to the next. But if audio is bad, if the audio on that cut changes, like the room tone in one is different than the other.
Yes.
And you physically, or you can audibly hear that. It makes you see the edit.
Yes.
It makes your brain go, here's where the cut happened. And you never want that.
It's so weird. I was on a shoot one time, and the guy's like, quiet, 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 quiet. And I'm like, what's he doing? I'm all, get in room tone. Shut up.
Yeah.
And that's what I learned what room tone was.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, that makes perfect sense. Because like you said, you'll see the edit. You'll hear the edit. You know,
you'll hear the edit, which then makes it. It's just it's mind blowing that the what the brain will perceive and the tricks of the trade that kind of separate the kind of more amateur to the more pro stuff. You know what I mean?
Which is hard. The hardest thing probably to do on the amateur level. I think it's easier to get a good visual. It's harder to get that amazing audio. You really need. It's like most. I'd probably as an independent, most of your money should go into audio.
I would suggest if you're going to spend money anywhere, if you're trying to make a little micro budget film or a short film or web series, whatever it is, hire an actual sound person.
Yeah, right.
If you're going to save any money up, put it in that. You know what I mean? A lot of cameras nowadays are so amazing. I mean, look at this little Blackmagic we're talking about. I have the 4K. I don't even have the 6K. But the 4K is beautiful. I mean, the camera produces the color science is fantastic. It produces these really very rich cinematic looking images, and you can get some nice lenses for it and take it to the next level. Get some really awesome shallow depth, lenses that give you these amazing bokeh in the background. You can do all that stuff that helps make it to the next level as well.
Okay, really quick question: bokeh or bokeh? Because I've heard it both.
Bokeh.
No, I've never known. I just say both.
I was watching a video today. The dude was talking about the bokeh. I'm like, fuck, what is it?
It's bokeh.
And I just say bokeh.
I said bokeh.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's the way it looks like it's spelled.
I think I say bokeh more often than I say bokeh, but yeah.
Bokeh's sexier though, right?
I think it's French.
I've studied with some I've got to kind of share knowledge with some really amazing photographers in the past, and they've said bokeh, so I'm like, which is it? What? But I don't really know, to be honest. We should probably look it up. That would be
I have, no one knows.
So everybody on the same page. It's both. We'll just
there you go. It's potato, I guess. You know what I mean? That's how you feel like saying it.
Depends on West Coast, East Coast. That's what it is.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Well, it's funny, really quick about the BMPCCs too, is the 4K is a micro four thirds and a micro four thirds sensor, and the 6K is a Super 35, I want to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
And an EFS mount, I think.
Yeah,
so it's a Canon mount.
It's an EF mount.
Canon mount.
Yeah.
Mine is a micro four third mount, but the lens or the sensor itself is not a micro four third size sensor. It's larger than that. And
it's closer to an APS-C. It's APS-C. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Which is it's kind of a bizarre thing. And like I said, I actually bought a micro four thirds lens, nice wide angle lens, and popped it on there. I went, whoa! It had the full on vignetting. It looked like a tunnel. And I'm like, how is this possible? And that's how I discovered that it's not a micro four thirds sensor. But so I've got a bunch. I'm a total lens nerd too. Like I love going on eBay and searching for old vintage lenses and trying to do different things with them. And I got this cool Russian lens called a Helios.
Oh, I know the Helios.
You know the Helios?
Oh,
it's such a cool lens.
I had one.
I used it in this last movie.
Really?
So we got an anamorphic adapter. It's one of those SLR Magic adapters, and it screws onto the front element of a lens.
Yeah.
And so I tried it with that Helios 44-2 or whatever that lens is called. And so we put that adapter on there to give us it's only a 133 squeeze, so it's not a 2.0.
Okay.
But because I was trying to match it to, this was like a quick little pickup shot, trying to match it to our main camera, which was the red helium is what we ended up using, which is an 8K camera with those Kawa. And I'm sorry, was it Kawa? Yeah, Kawa anamorphics. But anyway, so I used that Helios and put on that anamorphic adapter, and it looks so good because I did that real shallow depth thing. It was a nice close up on our lead actor, and the background does that kind of almost curved bokeh.
It's swirly bokeh. That's what it's called. Yeah,
swirly bokeh. And it looked amazing. It looks really fantastic.
Oh, that's cool. I don't know. I've never known anyone to use it in a feature. You know, because right now it's a I don't want to say kit lens is not the right thing. It's a hobby lens, right?
Yeah.
You get it because you want that certain look, and it's fun to screw on your T3 eye and go, well, look at this kooky picture.
I'll tell you this right now. So because I'm such a lens nerd, and like I said, I'll go onto eBay and look for different vintage things. I have some really cool vintage Carl Zeiss Jennas, like lenses from the early 50s, and they're so beautiful looking too. The characteristics behind, because that's what I like. I don't like a perfectly super tack sharp. There's no character or bending at all. Like that doesn't float my boat. You know what I'm saying? Like I like it to have some kind of character to it. So I'm always looking for those kinds of things to do unique things with them. And so of course I found that one lens. But what people are doing right now on it's mainly on eBay. I think you can get them at some of the other camera websites as well. But they're taking old lenses, adapting them to have the oval bokeh or bokeh, and also have the anamorphic flares. Now, they don't have the anamorphic aspect ratio or do any of the kind of warping on the edges that anamorphic does, but they give you the flares. They still have a lot of character because they're old lenses from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Yeah. But one of them, the 50 or the 58 millimeter, on all of these kits, you'll see them. They're like $2,500. You can get a 38, a 58, 85, and a 105 or something like that. And they'll sell them in a kit. And they've completely redone those lenses. Like they've taken them apart, they've recoded them, and put them back together with. They've done some stuff on the rear element to give you that oval bokeh. And there's basically like a piece of filament that goes straight down the lens. And that filament bends the light to give you those anamorphic style flares. But it's so at Helios is that 58 millimeter in these kits that people are building.
Really?
And they're selling cakes. It's really interesting. I think the 38 is a Mir, M-I-R. It's also, I think, a Russian or maybe it's German.
It's another Russian lens.
Like all the kit, they're all Russian lenses because apparently they made just a ton of these lenses. And they're sitting there really well made. They're beautiful glass in them, and people are adapting them for cinema because those are specifically for video. Because they have they not only do they adapt those things that I'm talking about, they also give them the focus gears.
Yeah, okay. So and they declick them. They declick them. They
declick them. You're right. Yeah. So it's really interesting. It's this whole subculture of kind of cinema lenses with these old Russian, some German, some, it's really, really interesting. But I'm such a geek. I love all that stuff. I bought a Canon TV lens from Japan from the 70s. And I was trying that. It's such a
I had that. You can adapt all these, because I had the original Pocket, and you could adapt all these C-mount lenses to it. So I was doing the same thing.
So that one was for back in those days,
because it was a Super 16 sensor with a Micro Four Thirds mount. It was goofy too, right? But you get all these lenses. If you ever get your hands on, it's hard to find, but it's what's that lens I gave you, Danon? Pentax. 35 millimeter f2 has one of the most beautiful lens flares I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, awesome!
It's not anamorphic, obviously, but it is. It's not a great lens, but it has a fucking great flare. I bought it specifically for the flare.
I have a Pentax 50 mil 1.2.
Oh, those are baseballs.
Tack sharp. I can't
those
believe how
see in the dark. Yeah.
I mean,
that one's right here.
And I actually bought that. Oh, do you have that one right there?
This is a 50 mil, the Pentax. It's 1. not 4. Great if you open it up all the way, but if it's on like a 2.8 like stop, then it actually works really well. If it's up to 1.4, then you lose all your clarity. But it's old.
Yeah. This one even at 1.2, it's pretty darn sharp.
You got lucky then.
I found it was just on a Pentax camera in a antique store.
Oh, really?
And I'm looking at the lens. I like the camera or whatever, but I probably won't shoot any film on it anytime soon. But I was just looking at it for the lens. I'm like, how much is this? And they're like $50. I'm like, yeah, I'm buying.
Man.
I'm like, I'm a 1.2, and it's like mint condition. I'm like, nothing on the blades, no fungus, no hazing. I was just like, here you go. So I'm like always look out for that kind of stuff. I think that's just fun to experiment with those things. And actually just recently ordered a oh my gosh, it's also a Japanese lens, but I ordered it specifically for that anamorphic adapter because it's a 35 to 70 zoom. It's not incredibly fast, but it's a well-made lens. It's supposed to be really sharp, but it has a small front element, which is really hard to find in a zoom lens.
Yeah.
Anything new, no way. It's like 77 millimeter front element. This has like a 40 millimeter front element, which means I can use it with that anamorphic adapter. So I'm going to try, and I got it for very inexpensive. And it's shipping over from Japan. So it's going to take probably a little bit to get to me. But when it does get there, I'm going to try it with an anamorphic adapter. And then I'll have kind of a little mini zoom anamorphic, which I think
the
would be
SLR Magic one. You're using that one?
Yeah, that's it's the 40 millimeter front element one. So it's kind of it's got like a square deal to it. And it's only a 133, but it's still fun. It's fun to mess around with, and I'll probably do some stuff with web content on it. Yeah. That's another thing I do just for fun when I have time, which is not very often lately. I've got a YouTube channel called Truly Indie Studios, and we do silly stuff with like superheroes. We have a show called Heroes with Issues, and we basically just take different superheroes, villains, He-Man, Star Wars characters, whatever it is, and they are getting therapy. So our doctor's office, his name is Dr. Roger Huntoon, which is actually an Arkham Asylum doctor, a psychologist that we based him on, and but our doctor's office is the great bridge to all universes. So. And we always mix and match them. So if we have, Psylocke from the X-Men on, then at the end of the episode, his next client that's coming in is He-Man or whatever it is, She-Ra.
So the whole universe is shared.
Yeah.
All the universes are shared. Yeah.
Doctor is the great, bridge to all of that. So we have a lot of fun with that. It's super silly, super dumb. But you guys might get a kick out of it. You should check it out.
That is like right up my alley.
And some fake commercials and stuff like that.
Hey, Dan, I think Shaun just said we're silly and dumb.
Well, I mean,
I'm silly
I can argue.
And you guys might laugh at how silly and dumb.
I'm like, how does he know? In an hour, how did he know we're silly and dumb? We're not hiding it very much. I know that, but...
So we are getting pretty
that kind of stuff. It's like a nice little just keep the creative juices flowing between jobs, and we just have fun with it. It's a silly fun thing to do. Video game characters, we do that a lot too. We did last one we did was Chun-Li and M. Bison, kind of a group therapy. From Street Fighter.
Yeah.
So.
God, Street Fighter, was that the one where they fight? I don't remember. Game. I remember the name. That's a really old game, right?
Oh yeah. I used to hustle people in the arcade, man. Back when that was a thing. Oh yeah. Actually, I played this character Chun-Li, which is she could jump on top of your head, and what I would do is I'd let the people win a couple rounds and then bet them $5.
Oh yeah.
And I'd get them trapped in the corner, and it was on one specific version of that game in the arcade that this cheat would work basically. And you just jump on top of their head, and they were blocking you, but it didn't matter. It was still draining your health just by a little bit, and you'd just be stuck in that corner, and people would get so angry.
Mortal Kombat. I was a Mortal Kombat guy. That's what I.
That was the same time. That was around the same time. So
that's what I played was Mortal Kombat. Yeah.
I was Raiden.
I was always Raiden.
Oh, Raiden I loved Raiden.
This I think we could go on all night about fucking lenses because I'm a lens geek too. And just all this horse shit. But there's probably a good place to end it. Yeah, Dan?
Yeah, we're a little over an hour.
Shaun Piccinino, director extraordinaire, run his own web series, lens geek, rides a motorcycle.
We didn't even talk about motorcycles.
We'll have one about motorcycles.
I'll come back. We'll talk motorcycles.
Yeah, exactly. Well, motorcycle show.
Yes.
But I really appreciate you coming on. Danny, have anything else for him?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm going to grab all the website info and all that stuff, and I'll actually link it down in the description. So if anybody wants to check out Shaun's stuff, please look in the description. We'll have all the links there. So, but no, Shaun, this has been awesome. This is like...
Yeah,
it's been a lot of fun.
Come on, man.
Thank you. Anytime, man. It's fun. I like your guys' podcast. So cool. I've got it subscribed now. So I'm a subscriber.
There we go. That's what I like to hear.
You, me, Danon. I think there's one other person. Oh yeah, he's on the subscriber.
We're getting there.
Subscribe too. Okay. All right, guys.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
So. All right.
And if we ever, we will at times. If you want to sub in, because you're a big movie guy. So
yeah, it seemed to be a fourth.
No.
I'm down.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about movies because I'm the only old guy on the show. So
you need another old guy.
Right. Well, on the old show, there was two old guys. So there was me and my buddy Perry. So the other, we need to have one purely on Star Wars because we can talk about that all night too.
I definitely need to be so when you do that one. Make sure I'm on there.
We'll just be us old Star Wars geeks. Bring Perry on. I'm
going to do part of the episodes in different Star Wars helmets.
Yeah.
So, I'm just gonna keep changing them.
Did you go to any of the celebrations?
I went to the one right before Force Awakens, whichever year.
That was
2014.
I want to say.
Yeah.
That's the one I went to. We probably walked by each other 100 times.
I was there too.
All 3 days for that night.
Yeah, I think we were in line when they started playing was it the trailer, the first official teaser or something like that for Force Awakens or something like that. I just remember
being on the first day. Were you there on Thursday?
I think so. I just remember us going, "Oh man, we all had it on our phones," but we were so bummed we weren't in there to see it being played on the screens and stuff.
Yeah. I wasn't there Thursday. That was the first day, and that's when they did that. I went Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I could have done that one about 4 hours too. As much as I love Star Wars,
I know.
You do see all you need to see in about.
It was overwhelming. I loved it, but man, was it overwhelming, right?
Yeah,
it's a lot. And they're even selling. I'm not a collector, but they even sell the unused Kenner, the back cardboards. I'm like, you guys even selling this shit? This is great. What are you gonna do with this?
Okay, well let me end it first because we can keep going on forever.
I thought we were just bullshitting now.
Oh no, well no, I need to end it. Yeah, Shaun, if you want to hang out for a bit after we end this, I just want to say thank you for watching this. If you're on YouTube, we're also on Spotify and SoundCloud, and then you can also follow us on Instagram. We'll be posting
subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe, please. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell. Smash that subscribe button. Do everything you need to do to keep up to date with us.